right, guys.
Talking, I can see I'm muted. There we go. All right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Fireside Chats. That's Sunday, September 27, 8 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to have Jake and Ben on again tonight. As you can see in the background, I've got both the YouTube and the Facebook streams going so that I can, I guess, MC with any of your questions as you guys come on live. Go ahead and leave questions or comments. We do these live. That way we can interact with everybody on there. And then maybe you guys saw this last week. We did actually start an iTunes podcast for MAO Fireside Chats. And we did get the first 2 episodes published on there. Basically, all I do is I take these lives, I rip the audio off, I edit it a little bit through Audacity and upload it. That way you can watch it later or listen to it later. I know it's a lot easier to listen to an hour-long talk rather than sit and watch, but we like to do it live because I like to be able to interact with anybody that wants to get on either one of those platforms and leave comments or questions or just interact with us. So that being said, I know Ben is still driving, it looks like, so we'll be bringing him in here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jake in on the screen. Maybe. All I got was Ben instead. There it is. So, here we go, Jake. Welcome. How's your week been?
Pretty good. The weather cooled down quite a bit here. Kansas, as it did in Nebraska. Would have been good Sunday to get out and go hunting, but I don't think us got to go out today, unfortunately. Kind of dad duties today. But hopefully this next weekend, if everything goes good, be able to get out in the stands for the first time of the year.
Yeah, it looks like, Ben, you're good. I can see you in the background. Bring you on the screen here so we're all on. Cool. How you been, Ben? How was your week?
Oh, busy as always, man. You know how it is me. Chasing kids everywhere I go.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever
baseball
said.
Game today.
Have you ever said on here how many kids you're chasing around?
Oh, well, I chased half of them off. they're off on their own, but Friday night was football. My oldest boy, from my side, he's going to be playing football for Dakota Wesleyan. So we went up there Saturday, watched them play, and he got to meet the whole team and all that. It was pretty cool. And then today was a doubleheader baseball game, so there's always something going on.
Wow, who are they playing for? Playing baseball in the fall?
They play UBA ball up in Omaha.
Okay.
So our team here, they've got a few kids put together and just kind of get a little more experience, have some fun.
Yeah. Me and Jake aren't to that life stage yet.
Oh, just wait, it's coming, buddy.
I know.
They don't stay a little long, bud.
No. Yeah. Right now we're giving up hunting to go to pumpkin patches, but soon we'll be giving up hunting to go watch UBA baseball.
Hell, I tell you, it's a blast. I wouldn't give it up for anything.
That's awesome. So I guess to jump into the topic, we got about 15 minutes here. We're going to be bringing in a guest today, David. You know what, David, I should have asked you how you say your name exactly. It's Babyak. That's my best guess at it, buddy. Just somebody that we've met through bow hunter community, specifically the Bowhunter Box Club tribe. So I've kind of known David for about a year. He's been a big supporter of Middle American Outdoors since the beginning, really. But we're going to bring him in to talk about his recent black bear hunt in Maine, which then triggered us to think about maybe, the topic for this week be a little less heavy than last week's topic and just more of maybe we reflect on our personal favorite hunting or outdoors experience leading up to bringing in David. I'll go ahead and I'll kick it over to you first, Jake, if you want to give me just a minute to click the screen over, and we will have you just go ahead and walk us through what you feel is your most memorable or favorite outdoors experience here.
All right, guys. What's that? There I am. All right. I was kind of thinking about this all day, but honestly, my favorite outdoor experience probably happened in 2005. It would have been my first year of hunting. My stepdad, Terry, he happened to get me into bow hunting, and I got hooked on it. Shortly after this hunt, I had we were both hunting the same property, and there was a creek splitting us. He didn't want to get too far away from me at the time. I hadn't been hunting too many years, actually. So it was a cool morning. I think it was in the 30s or so. I remember it was pretty chilly. But to this date, the biggest deer I've ever seen had walked in, right now I recall it's 35 yards, if I can remember the correct, because I hunt there all the time. But about 35 yards, and at the time I thought it was a lot farther than that. I happened to get target panic, and I didn't even draw my bow. Too much buck fever. It deer was I don't think anybody ever shot it. I would say it's probably in the 180s maybe. Nobody had camera pictures of it either. Terry happened to be, it was 30 yards from me. He was sitting about 100, so he was about 65, somewhere around there. And he drew back and was going to sling an arrow at it. He was, a pretty good shot at the time. But that really got me started in it, just getting that buck fever so bad that I couldn't even pull my bow back. That was an insane type of experience for me. And I remember it to this day, especially with it being cold, how bad I was shaking. I thought I was going to fall out of the tree stand. And being maybe, I can't remember, 12 or so. It was when I was first getting started in which then leads me to my further topic.
How old were you, Jake, at that time?
Oh, let me think here. I've been 12.
Yeah.
And I shot my first years in 2009. So I was 4 years of hunting before I shot my first buck.
I've actually got that picture on here. Your muley?
Well, that was in 2012.
Okay.
I have a white. I'll take a picture of it later on. I have the skull plate and everything. I'll post something sometime, or we'll get it put up. But
what about this muley then? It's in the background there.
Yeah, this one here was in 2012. I was riding home on a school bus, actually, and at a water hole. He happened to walk right in. That worked out pretty perfect on that one. It's my only muley to date, muley a buck. I've had plenty of opportunities, many failed stocks, but that original whitetail I was telling you about, that story where I didn't even draw, that really got me hooked to, keep hunting the way I am. And a few bucks here and there in the meantime has really kept me going. Like that buck last year, it really just, got me going. It's been first since 2012. First good buck, I should say, that I was 100% proud of. I put in a lot of work for that one, but and which my second experience here, having a kid. I've loved shed hunting this whole time. This is a new topic, but I've loved shed hunting for years now. Putting in the miles a lot. Having a daughter and a fiance now, she likes to be able to shed hunt with me. So she hasn't gotten quite into the hunting side of things yet, which I hope to in the future. She has a bow and everything like that, but hope to get some time to get her out in the field. But shed hunting is definitely a good way to get your family out there. I know I sent you some pictures, Matt, and stuff like that, but this last year, I took my daughter out, and she doesn't really know what's going on. She was only 8 months or so at the time. it's the point of being able to get your family out and doing something together, which is it was an unreal experience for me. I love shed hunting, and it's something I'd love to pass on to my family. So all in all, starting with that whitetail experience, leading on to my family, being able to share those experiences with them, is something I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, it's good. I got those pictures up of that shed hunt from this year when we made a video on that. If you guys go back and check our friends and family playlist on our YouTube channel, we have a side-by-side shed hunting. Me and my family found 0, and Jake and his family found like 25 that day or something. The only person I know that's got more sheds than you, Jake, is Ben.
I mean, if I've kept them since the beginning, I sold mine right before I went to college to take down payments for my books and stuff. Fair share over the years, enough to put me through.
Sell sheds to pay for your college books. That's some Midwest stuff, buddy.
Yeah.
It's quite a market, really.
It's quite a market. Pound for pound, they bring quite a bit.
Cool. Well, let me kick over to Ben. We got about 6 or 7 minutes here. We'll try to bring in David. But how about you, Ben? What is I guess you've got a lot of experiences, I know, so maybe what is one big one that you want to talk about? We got years and years ahead to talk about more of your experiences. But
man, I've been racking my brain about this all week. I like I told you the other day, I really need to sit down and just write a book. So I'm just going to go with my first one as well. My first deer hunt. I was 14 years old, and I wasn't necessarily addicted to deer hunting at that time. I actually didn't become addicted to deer hunting until here fairly recently, but I was 14, and it was right open and morning rifle season, and my dad and his best friend got us all. Well, of course, we were awake all night long, because we were so excited you couldn't sleep, and we went out to where we were going to hunt, and we was doing a somewhat of a drive. We had a 2-mile section of land. We were on a creek bottom, and they were just going to put me in the middle. My dad was going to start at south end. My dad's buddy and my younger brother started on the north end. They just kind of sneaked their way, try to bump them through towards the middle. And so, of course, it's, an hour before the sun comes up. It's dark out. They kicked me out on this old canal road. Said, we walk down here. There's a pump set up there. Just sit by that pump and just sit there and wait. And I tell you what, I was so scared. They had to basically force me out of the truck because I was too scared to walk out in the dark by myself. Looking back, it was just, can't believe I did that, man. I had a rifle in my hands. What do I got to be scared of, But it was just a huge, and to this day, they still give me grief about it. But I get out there, the sun is just coming up. I'm just starting to see things. And this huge doe jumps over the fence. Well, let me back up. I couldn't find where they were wanting me to go. I was totally lost. I knew I was on this canal route. I knew I needed to get to the creek bottom, and I couldn't find this silly pump. So I just seen this old fence, this giant creosote fence post. Is probably, I think it was a railroad tie. And I just sat down beside it. I was like, you know what, heck with it. This is close enough. I can see everything from here. So this doe finally comes out, and she jumps the fence probably 5 yards from me. And when she hit the ground, like I felt her land when she hit the ground. She was so close. And for some reason, I wasn't like all excited. I wasn't, I was perfectly calm. Raised my rifle up, and I was going to shoot her. And I realized she had one of her yearlings with her. And I just didn't have it in me to shoot her. And it's opening day. We knew there was huge bucks on this property, so I was just going to be patient. She runs down into the bottom at about 50 yards. She's down there feeding. pulled my rifle up on her again. I was going to shoot her, and I was like, nope, I'm going to wait. And I sat there for another 20 minutes or so, and my feet were falling asleep. So I set my rifle. Well, actually, it was my grandfather's rifle, which was, a pretty cool part of the story. It was a Remington 700 30 or 243, and I set it down on the ground beside me. I'm stretching my feet out, and I look up, and literally on the other side of the fence was this buck, and all I seen was antlers. He was within 5 yards of me. Like, I thought he was going to jump the fence on top of me. He had his nose stuck to the ground, chasing that doe is what he was doing, trailing her. And he looked up, and our eyes just locked. I mean, we were within arm's reach of each other. It was just so close. And I'm sitting here with no rifle in my hands. I'm afraid to move because he's going to take off running, but the rifle's laying on the ground. And so I had no other choice. I just reached my rifle, pulled up. I seen Brown, touched it off. He jumped the fence. He hit the ground. I put another round in him, and he just fell right there about 15 yards from me. And I sat there and shook for like a half an hour. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't hardly breathe. And I look over on top of the hill, and I see my dad's buddy Shane and my younger brother Matt. They were coming around the hill towards me, and they actually got up to my deer before I did. And they're just, holy cow! I can't believe that happened. They watched the whole thing unfold from on top of that hill. Like, they seen that deer coming out towards me, so they just stopped and watched the whole thing happen. And that deer scored 186 inches. And, within the first half hour of opening day of my first ever deer season, and it was just amazing, man. I didn't hunt deer for a long time after that for myself. I kind of got into guiding after that. And at 14 years old, I started guiding. And I seen a whole different aspect of the hunting side of it. But that was quite a wild one.
Yeah. And a brief plug, I think, Ben might be getting back into guiding, so you guys just watch out for that. Probably have more on that to come later.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'll be booking it.
So, Ben, I've got, I asked these guys to send in some pictures, and unfortunately, Ben apparently didn't have any pictures. So I went ahead and found some of these pictures of your hunt. If you can first just tell us, Ben, how was it that you were dragging that deer out of there?
In the back of a pickup. I wish I could see the picture you're posting.
I know. It ain't on the back of a pickup, I'll tell you that. Oh, man. For those guys
that's what I get, though. That's what I get, right?
Yeah. And let's see. I had some other ones in here, Oh, let's see. Let's go back to, here's a picture of you and your brother celebrating after the hunt, I think. That's what I'm getting from that picture. And,
oh, boy.
I even came up. I found one of you and your hunting dog from back in the day. I mean, you said, what kind of rifle did you say you were using? A Browning?
No, it was a Remington.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that looks like a Sharps.
Oh, boy.
For those that are watching the podcast, I'm sorry you don't get to see that, but you'll just have to check out the live on our YouTube channel later.
I'm gonna pull up a screenshot of it and save it. Hey, just remember, paybacks, buddy.
It's pretty good. Too bad neither one of you could see it. I'm over here laughing to myself. For the folks that are on, Megan's laughing at it. So for the folks that are on YouTube and Facebook, go ahead and you can chime in at any point. Drop a little comment about some of your funny stories or good stories, good memories. And also when we have David on, if you have any questions for him, go ahead and drop them on here and I'll get to them. I guess I'm going to just real quick. I think, David, you're watching. I'm going to call you here in just a few minutes. But just real quick, I'll kick over to myself. I'm similar to these guys, other than I started hunting as an adult. And I cut my teeth out western Nebraska with a friend, Jay Mosel, teaching me most stuff about hunting and giving me experience. And so we got to see a lot of mule deer and at a distance. And, mule deer are impressive, but you see them at such great distances with your optics and stuff. And you just watch them, and they seem to be out in the open. It's no secret. Then we moved back here to eastern Nebraska, and I started whitetail hunting on public land. And I won't forget the first night that I was sitting out on some public land, and I was actually having to look into the private cut corn. And I remember I was recording, some little bucks beating each other up and some little bucks chasing some does around in the field. And then that first time, it walks out of man, I swear there was 2 trees there. And this giant whitetail walks out, and he is just chocolate horned, like he had just been hanging out in the timber forever. And he just pokes his head out, drops his head, runs them baby bucks off, and turns and goes back into the trees. And I just remember, like Jake was saying, I thought I'd fall out of the tree stand. I was shaking so bad. There's absolutely no way I could have drawn a bow on him if he would have came to the public land. But just that first experience with the whitetail, I mean, they're like ghosts. I don't know where he came from. I don't know how he got to that island of trees and then suddenly emerged, and then he just disappeared just like that again. But he was a giant, and he was old and dark. And like Jake was saying, and other than that, my some of my favorite things to do now is when I'm actually able to get the family out there as well. I'm just going to throw up some pictures of my family from this last year when we were doing some scouting and shed hunting as well. And I'll just talk through it. So this is if you guys follow my stuff, I hunt a lot of Big Red Outdoors property, and this is a Big Red Outdoors property. That's a hunt club here in Nebraska. If anybody's looking for land, pay attention to those guys. I love being part of that group. This is me and Joanna heading in to do some camera work. And there's my wife and our son Levi on the backpack. There's me and Joanna again. And then me and Levi on a different outing. You guys will just have to see the pictures later. There's our whole crew leaving one of the properties. It's obviously pretty windy that day. And there's my daughter Joanna. She's our oldest. And that's a planted shed. Don't tell her yet. She'll find out someday. But Jake gave me that idea of, go ahead and plant some sheds. That way they get some success, because, we're not finding them on the public property around here. And there's Megan and Joanna on that same outing. There's Megan and Levi going into some Big Red Outdoors property. And I always think it's cool when you see pictures on your trail cameras later of the group walking by. So anyway, that's that. I love being able to take them out there and slowly introduce Joanna to it as well. And she really loves it. She loves going hunting, even though it's shed hunting or trail camera work, whatever it is. She loves being out there. So Ben, why don't you go ahead and just talk about David, what you know about David. You were part of Bow Hunter Box Club before I was, and I'm sure you've known David slightly longer than I have. And you can kind of introduce him, and I'll try to get him connected here.
Okay. I want to touch in on the shed hunting part of it there a little bit real quick.
Yeah.
I know, both you guys touched on it, that you're taking your young ones out there, like Matt said, planting a shed for the little ones. I did the same thing for Carly, my youngest daughter, and she absolutely loves it. She's 6 years old this year, looking to get her out, sit in the stand with me some. And, shed hunting's a great way to get the family out there. The weather's usually decent.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, David, what's going on, buddy?
No.
But yeah, a little bit about David. That I don't know him a whole lot. I was actually supposed to go on this hunt with him. We had planned on it. I was a little bummed that I miss it, but I am going to be going on a bear hunt here later in November with a couple of veterans from Veterans Creed Outdoors. We're taking out there. But yeah, kind of met David on social media, Bow Hunter Box Club. Seems to be a great guy. I was really hoping to meet him in person here how long ago was that, David?
What the hunt or
yeah, your bear hunt? Was that a month ago?
Was the beginning of September. It was September 7th was the day that I shot my bear.
Right.
So
I had set aside I was supposed to go on a group hunt with Bow Hunter Box Club, but that kind of got sidelined with this COVID stuff, and so I was kind of holding out to see how that'd play out, and then this hunt come up, and it just didn't work for me this year. But hopefully next year I get to go out there and go hunting with you guys.
That's what we were hoping. I was originally going to go on that hunt, the Bow Hunter Box Club hunt, and then it ended up I just decided not to. I backed out because just how everything that was going on, and it was going to be a rough trip for me to make. But then I'll tell you about the bear hunting that. But yeah, hopefully here soon we'll be able to get together on a hunt,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. Or are you guys able to see me? Or
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay.
Just tip it down just a little bit, David.
Okay. Is that kind of better?
I think it will be. That's better. Much better.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So let me try to kick over to a 4 screen here. Yeah, there you go. All 4 of us on there. Well, welcome, David. Thanks for doing this. And
no problem.
Let's see. So was this the first destination hunt that you've been on? I call it a destination hunt. So when I say that, I basically mean it's almost like a vacation of sorts. Like you're going someplace specifically, usually out of state, with the intention of hunting specific game.
Right. For me, well, I guess it was. It's the first hunt that I ever went on. I did a hog hunt back last year, back in I think it was May. I didn't really go anywhere. I only drove an hour away from my house and went up to this place. It was called High Ridge Hunting, and it was just like a hog hunt. It was called a bow hunt jamboree. They had I think 47 guys, and there was like 40 animals. So there was about 7 people who weren't going to get an animal, but it ended up not even everybody showed up. So the success rate was like 44 people got animals, but it was a high fence operation. It was as soon as I got my new bow and I wanted to go hunt something, you know what I mean? So I went and got a pig. But this is my first real vacation destination hunt, I guess you would say. I obviously like elk is something that I really want to go and do, but this worked out really well because Dave St. Hilaire, he's a part of the tribe from Bow Hunter Box Club, and I had never met him or anything prior to this, but he kind of set up. He had been on the first 2 Bow Hunter Box Club ram hunts, so he was passing on this year's, and then he got a hold of me privately and said, would you be interested in a bear hunt over here? Because he lives in Connecticut, closer to me. And I said, yeah, dude, definitely. Where at? And he was like, up in Maine. So I was like, oh, dude, I'd definitely be interested, let me know. And then he was going to try and get other people from the tribe to possibly, if they wanted to come. He had talked to Jason about putting something up on the tribe. I don't know if something ever got put up or not. It might have got put up here like a month or 2 prior to us going, but I'm not sure about all that. But so that's how I ended up getting involved in going on it. Dave kind of set it up, and then I guess he knew this guy. Well, I don't know if he knew the guide or somebody in his family had used him. He was a highly recommended guide. His name's Tanner Francis, and it's through Alder Stream Guide Services. He's part native. Shit, I don't have the. He told me the name of the tribe. I forget what it is. I don't want to say it because I know I won't get it right. But it's up in the western Maine mountains, and he has over 27,000 acres that he's allowed to hunt. It's reservation land, and he's the only guide on that land, and the only guide that runs. It was a baited bear hunt, but he's the only one that runs baits on that. He has like 30 set up baits at different areas. There's different sections of the woods. The one section I was hunting in was probably like, I'd say, a 10,000 acre patch or so. And where I was set at, I kind of, well, I mean, I'll get into that here in a minute. I guess let's talk about that. But yeah, it was set up through him. So I got to go up there. I originally did a 3-day hunt, but it could either be a 3-day hunt or a 6-day hunt, and you can't hunt on Sundays up there. So we got up there on Sunday and booked in. It included lodge, so I paid $900. Sorry if I'm kind of like a little bit all over the place. I paid
And you're knocking out the
$900.
questions one by one.
I like went over. I'm trying to just include all in the first destination hunt here. So like I said, it was $900 for a 3-day hunt. That include lodging and basically lodging and your hunt, your guide service and all that. You had to pay, and that included, he cooked breakfast and dinner for us. We had to provide lunch. That was it. So with that being said, it was $900 for the hunt, and then I had to pay, I think it was another $260 it came to or something like that I had to buy the bear license, which was like I think 100, 120 or something, and then the hunt fee itself, I know, was like $150. And then they charged me another like $75 or something for an archery tag, like to use my archery. Dave only used his rifle, so he didn't have to pay that extra $75. His license fee was only like $220 or something. It was a lot lower, So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so total with the hunt for the guide and the license, it cost me about $1,276 or something like that. That didn't include driving up there, of course, your travel fees or whatever, wherever you'd be coming from. But so, yeah, that was my hunt. I tagged out on the first day, and my 3-day hunt, I was originally driving up there myself, and but driving from PA, I was going right through Connecticut. So I Dave's house was only a 15-minute detour. So I left here on Saturday night. I drove 6.5 hours up to Dave's, and I stayed in a hotel right by Dave's, because by the time I got up by his house, it was like 1:20 or 1:30 in the morning. And he was like, I'll just get you a hotel room and that. So he called over to the place right by his house, reserved me a room. I met up with him the next morning, and we met Jay DeMaine. He was the other guy that came on the hunt with us. He was a part of Bowhunter Box Club, and they're both really awesome guys. Like, basically, I never met either of them before, but whenever I did get to meet him, it was like I felt like I was meeting a friend that I've known forever, just because we've talked so much. And I got pretty close with Dave over the last couple months, talking to him about this hunt and everything like that. So yeah, we met them, and then we drove up there, and that was like Sunday night. And then, like I said, I tagged out Monday. So I had a whole vacation, and originally I had a 3-day hunt. Tanner is the guy, like I said, Tanner Francis, and he's super cool. Like I think he's 28. He's been guiding for 6.5, going on 7 years, and he's had his own, that Alder Stream Guide, for 2.5 years now. But he's super cool. And Dave was like, hey, since Dave was just gonna ride up with me, he only has a 3-day hunt, but would you have a problem with him just hanging out for the other 3 days with us? And Tanner was like, yeah, man, I don't care. You guys are already up here for 6 days. So I got the place he rented us our own cabin. We had a 4-bedroom. It was like 2 rooms with bunk beds, and then 2 rooms with a full-size bed in it. So it could sleep 6 or 7 people easy. And but so he let me stay for a couple extra dollars, whatever, like food I ate, you know what I mean, like $20 or $30 for the extra dinners and that. It was a pretty cool deal. So I got to hang out for 5 whole days. I went hunting Monday, shot my bear, hung out for 5 days. So getting on the whole vacation part, it was a real vacation for me because I got 2 little ones. So I got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. They keep me busy. So like I was just sitting around all day while the guys were at hunting. I ended up making dinner once or twice, and the guy was like, "Dude, this is awesome." He's like, "I'm supposed to be here making dinner and that, and you're over here cooking." I'm like, "Dude, I don't got nothing else to do. I'd rather just make myself useful and keep myself busy." But so that was the hunt. It just happened to come about. Dave set it all up, and it was and a 6-day hunt is 1,800 or 1,750, something like that. It was a little bit less than half. It might have been 1,600 even. It was it was less than half of if you were to double my hunt. It was a little bit less. So that's the prices on that. I would highly recommend Tanner. Like I'm probably going back there next fall. I've already talked to him about it, and that as long as everything goes well, like in my life, nothing crazy happens, I'd like to go up there. I'd probably even like to take Laura with me, my fiance, try and get her on a bear. So what was one of the next questions that you had
Yeah.
that I didn't answer?
Yeah. You're good, man. So we'll walk through these questions. As far as life getting hectic, you got a third one on the way, right? Congratulations.
I do. Yep. Thank you. We just went to the doctors this past week and seen the sonogram and everything, and got to see the heartbeat and all that. Like it was cool, man. It was real cool. It's just we were nervous because it's been rough. She's had a few like difficult, she's had like two miscarriages in our whole 4 years that we've tried to have kids. So, but she Laura was a pedestrian hit by 2 cars. So like it is a miracle that we had Dylan, and maybe we're blessed again. But if this doesn't happen, then we're probably just keeping what we got, so to say, I guess. But either way, I'm happy as could be. You know what I mean? I'm extremely excited. So
that's awesome, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much cooler than hunting, even. But as far as your hunt,
I'd like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you covered some of this stuff, just some of the curiosity people probably have. I told you one reason we were bringing you on is that there's probably a lot of people in this similar situation thinking about doing some sort of destination hunt. Maybe they can, I don't know, let's say where we live, we can hunt whitetail as far as big game. That's about it. Whitetail, turkey, waterfowl. But as far as your bow and something with 4 legs, you're hunting whitetail. And if you're in my situation, or even, Ben specifically, Jake's got it made where he's at. But as far as me and Ben, guys like us, we're thinking about maybe going out of state, doing something and, something exotic like a bear, and the cost of it. And you kind of covered that, as far as what your cost was for the hunt, the licensing, etc. And I did have up a graphic of the outfitter that you went to in case anybody else is interested. Give them a plug because it sounds like it was pretty good up there in Maine.
Yeah.
But the next question then would be let's get into your hunt. Like, what was your hunt experience like? So tell us about, first of all, your setup. You said you were over bait. What was your setup like?
Yeah. So the way that they do it up there is they don't have barrels that they put the bait in. They hang a bait on a line. Like the way I was hunting, I was actually set up in a rifle stand. And the reason why he put me there, it was a 40-yard shot to the bait, from the blind to the bait. And he asked me if I wanted to move it up. He's like, "Do you want to move it up like 10 yards?" And I said it was staked down and everything, I was like, "No, let's just leave it where it is. I don't want the bait. If the bear's been coming in and hitting the bait every night, I don't want them to come in and notice that the blind is that much closer or anything." Because one of the main things that he stressed whenever we first got there the night before, Tanner, was like, movement is key. He was like, there was a guy there, he said there was a guy, one of his clients there, and for the first 3 nights he was there and he was chewing bubble gum. And like something that simple, you wouldn't think did anything, and maybe it's not, but he quit chewing bubble gum, and the next night the big bear that was hitting the bait before he started hunting on it came right in, and he sat real still. So like maybe that was something, but I took that very seriously whenever he said movement is key. And I sent you a couple pictures there of the blind, and I took one of like a far distance, and it's looking out the blind, and it's just you see a little white bag in the center. That's the bait there. That's at 40 yards away. And like I said, I took that stand because it was getting hit every night right prior to me coming, and I shoot all the time. Like I was pretty confident in myself taking a 40-yard shot. I was, and let's see. So whenever I got there, we settled in. He comes in. He'll walk you in, and basically where I was hunting at, it was like they're doing logging and everything, but it's reservation land, and they do like there's every kind of game in there. There was moose, whitetail, water, like not. I mean, I'm sure there's waterfowl, but there's pheasant and grouse, everything like that. Dave and them seen a moose on their walk-in. So the bait site is, I don't know, it was only a 2 or 3 minute walk to the blind and the bait. But whenever you get out, you go up and you drive up like a logging road. And whenever we went up the logging road, he'll go up a ways, and whenever he gets to the bait, he'll pull off. You get out the truck with him, and he grabs a bag of bait, and he takes you in. Whenever he walks you in, he'll set you up in your blind or treat stand. He has both. And he'll set you up in the blind. Whenever you're getting set up, he'll walk down and hang the bait up, spray everything down and all that. And on his way out, he'll just give you a thumbs up because he don't really like to talk or anything. Whenever you're going in, he'll just and tell him, yeah, I'm good. And so I was sitting there, and like I said, I knew like movement was key, and I had 2 windows on the side of me, obviously the door to my back and the window out front. And I think it was an Ameristep blind is what it looked like to me. But it had the big window that you could zip down, and then it had the little bow windows in the center, So I took the bow windows on the side and I zipped the corners down just a little bit so I could see out them to kind of see if a bear was coming from my left or my right, basically from the way that we came in, which it probably wasn't going to because the wind was blowing straight in my face. We had a perfect wind for that stand that night. It was blowing straight to me. So I just zipped them down a crack, but then I focused straight out. I had just a bow window open, not the big one or anything. And I was sitting back in there, I made sure I could draw and everything. I got in the stand about 3:30. I sat until I didn't see anything. Well, there was there's these red squirrels up there, and dude, they sound like a bear coming through the woods. One ran into my blind and like scared the crap out of me. I grabbed my bow, like thinking I thought maybe like a cub ran up behind me and got my scent or something and turned around is what it sounded like. And I was just like, what the heck? So that's the only thing that kept me entertained until about it was like, I remember looking at my phone at 6:14, and because I noticed it was starting to get a little bit darker. Legal shoot light up there was at 7:34 on the first. I think it was all week. I know for the first couple of days it was 7:34, but like I said, it was about 6:14, and the reason why I remember looking is because I looked at my bow, and in my blind it was so dark that I had no pin light. Like I looked at my bow and I could see my pin and everything, but I had no pin light. Like it wasn't glowing green. I have a single pin HHA sight, and it wasn't glowing, So I turned on the light on the lowest setting to where it just barely illuminates it. And I'm glad I did, because after I did that and I sat there, it couldn't have been 4 minutes. Like I want to say 6:18 or 6:20 whenever I shot my bear, and or not shot it. I mean, whenever it came in, like I was just sitting there looking and staring, and where the bait was back behind it was just a dark hole. And okay, I guess I forgot to say, whenever we walked in an old, I think they call them skid paths. It was like where old logging, not the trucks, but the 4-wheel drive buggies that go back in and grab the logs and drag them out. It was one of those old paths that we walked in on, and he had the blind set up in, and then the bait was about 40 yards up, strung across. So it's an open path that the bait's on and that I was in. You can see it in that picture. But so whenever in that back hole, like I was just looking and staring in, and it was getting dark back in underneath the canopy and everything. And I just seen something black, like back by the one tree, and I'm like, is that a bear? And then as the black little dot, just like me, and it came up to the right and was behind another tree. And oh, that is a bear. And my heart started beating and everything. And I'm like, oh man. And Dave had given me his Tacticam, and I put it on, but I've never recorded any hunt before ever in my life or anything. So they were like, make sure you turn it on and make sure that you hold your bow up. And I'm like, I got this, you know. And whenever the bear started coming in and coming up, I got so excited. Like I did remember to turn it on and everything. I'll get there. But it was coming up, and those bears are smart, dude. Like I didn't shoot no old bear. I shot a younger bear. It was probably a 2.5-year-old or something, they said. But I shot an average, or maybe even a little bit bigger than average. My bear was about 125 pounds. But I was looking, and like the average that was on the at the bear tag wall, it was, you know, between like 60 to 90 pounds was a lot of them. But so the bear's coming in, and he's walking up, and he's sticking to the side. Like I'm looking at him, and if on the left and the right of the cleared path, you know, there's like rocks and trees, and he's walking on the side coming up, and I'm looking at him, and I get my rangefinder, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, oh, that looks like a decent bear to me, I guess. Like I've watched videos and everything. I've never judged bears in person. That was the first bear that I ever seen in person while I was hunting. Like I had a bear run across me up in the mountains at my camp when I was in the car, but they were 2 cubs, and I knew that they were little cubs, you know. So I've never I learned so much on this hunt with just judging bears and just everything. I learned a lot, I'll tell you that. So it comes up, and I'm like, oh, that's a nice bear. It had me excited. That's all I cared. If it got me going and excited, I was happy with it. So it comes in, and like I said, it's about 6:20. It comes up, and it's just eating some bait on the way up, taking its time. By the time it comes up, it goes over, and Dave's like, make sure you turn the Tacticam on. So I turned it on. I already knew that the bait was at 40 yards. Whenever the bear came up, the guide had told me, he's like, if the bear can stand on its 4 legs and reach up and grab the bait, then it's a pretty good bear. He's like, now if it has to come up and stand up on its back legs to get the bait, it's a younger bear. Well, my bear came up, and it didn't really get up on all 4 legs. It just stretched his neck up a decent ways. Like I think its front paws on the ground. It didn't have trouble getting the bait. So it gets the bait, and it tears it down. And whenever it tore it down, like whenever it had stood up a little bit, I was gonna try and take my shot on it then. But I was so worried about that Tacticam. I made sure I turned it on and it was ready. And by the time that the Tacticam was on and vibrated, the bear had grabbed a piece of bait and walked over to the left of it and was laying there eating it. And whenever it grabbed the bait and went over to the left of the bait pile, the way that the bait was on the ground, there was a couple hills. There was a few hills that came down, and the bear would go over to the left. He'd lay down, and you could see him sitting there and eating, but I couldn't see his body at all. All I could see was his head. And I'd look through my rangefinder, and I'd see him, and I could see just the brown on its face and his eyes, and it was sitting there eating. So it did that, and then I watched my bear for about 45 minutes or so. I watched it do that a couple times, and like it would never get up though and go over to the bait again. It was that whenever it tore the bag down, it was able to like reach with its paw and just grab some bait and pull it over. So finally it was starting. Like I said, I was sitting there watching it, and at a couple times it was getting dark in the back where I thought maybe it left and I didn't see it, and maybe it went to its right and into the woods or something. I'd have to get my rangefinder out and look. So it was like bare eyes. I could barely see it in there. And it gets up and it comes back over to where the bait is in the center. But I could tell. And at first, whenever the bear was coming up, I thought that it was under the bait the one time, and it wasn't. It was still behind it because I shot it with my rangefinder and it said 43 yards. So I knew it was behind it because, like I said, the bait was at like 40. And like I'm saying, it was hard to judge. But whenever I seen it get up from laying down and eating and walked over, I could tell that the bait, it was behind the bait. So it was about 43 yards where I shot it at, but it got up and it looked like it was maybe getting ready to leave or something. So I hurried up and I drew back, and I turned I had the Tacticam on already. I drew back, and whenever it was walking away, and I seen it turn and start to walk away a little bit, but it was giving me a quarter and away shot. So I knew it was about 42, 43 yards. Like I said, I had my sight set on 40, and I just held. I drew back. I had it drawn back. I held the pin at the top of its back, and whenever I let loose, like I think the bear was maybe walking away a little bit, and whenever I did, I shot, and it went and I hit it in the neck. So my shot was a little bit off. I hit it in the neck though, and I was shooting a mechanical. I was shooting a Rage hypodermic no collar, because I just heard you want to try and cut the bears open real good. They don't bleed a lot, but. So mine, whenever I shot, I had a Luminoc on. Like I said, I had the Tacticam, and it was recording. You could see the arrow about halfway, and I dropped my bow. I was just so excited and so jacked up, like I didn't even think about it. And I also think like we kind of decided that whenever I shot and I dropped my bow that quick, I think I may have messed my shot up a little bit, and maybe that's why I kind of hit it off a little bit of my mark. But at the same time, I think that the bears move a lot too, because Jay's shot ended up being kind of like mine, a little bit off. But anyways, so I'm watching my arrow go, and the Tacticam cuts out right before it hits the bear. But then I'm watching it. I see my arrow going, and I see it hit the bear, and I see the bear like go like that, and he just takes off. And all I could see is my lighting up and him just running away. So I was like, oh, all right, I hit it. I thought that whenever I initially thought where I hit it, I thought I hit it like front shoulder, a little bit far forward of where I wanted to be. But whenever I got up to where I hit it at, I had blood right where I hit it, and I had good blood going into the woods. So like I did what I probably shouldn't have did. I got out of my blind and went up there and looked because I wanted to know. And then I called my guide. Well, I texted him. I said, Tanner, I shot a bear. I was like, do you just want me to wait or what? He was like, just wait there. I'll be up. Because it's very serious. Like, it's a lot more maybe serious than I originally thought it was, like with the danger aspect of going into the bears. Those guys, the guide, Tanner, and his I guess partner you would call him, his name's Dusty. He became their business partners, and he was there with me. They both have their guns drawn, and they're like whenever they're on it. I don't know, like they've been charged at a few times, and that it's no joke. So, anyways, where I hit the bear, me and Tanner comes up to me. We go, and he's like to ask me about it. I tell him everything I just told you, and I said I think I might have hit it like front shoulder or something. I wasn't sure. I had good blood though. We had bright red blood, like decent blood. We found a couple air bubbles in some of the blood that it looked like it spit out. And so we started tracking it. And mind you, I shot it. It was about 7:05 whenever I shot. And it was starting to get dark and everything. But up underneath the canopies, like it was dark. I had two bright flashlights and he had one. And we had a good blood trail though. Like we were walking steady. We never had this once stop and like turn over a leaf or try to find blood. We were walking steady, following a great blood trail. I'm like, Tanner, this is good, right? Like bears don't bleed. He's like, no, man, they don't bleed barely at all. He's like, this is great. We definitely got a dead bear somewhere. I'm like, cool, man, cool. And so we tracked it about 300, 400 yards, and it was getting pretty dark. Dave was still in the woods, hadn't been picked up or anything. And he was like, dude, we went pretty far. I said, yeah, we have. So I marked last blood on my Onyx, which is really cool. I don't have Onyx for up there in Maine, but I only have a PA one. But I was able to have the maps and mark my location and everything like that. So I was like, that's awesome. But so I marked last blood. We went and picked up Dave, and we went and reviewed everything, and you couldn't see the hit on the Tacticam. So the next morning, I barely slept that night. The next morning we wake up. It was about 6 o'clock. They picked us up. It got light at like 5:30. 6 o'clock. Me, Dave, Jay, Tanner, and Dustin. We all go in, and we just went right to where we knew last blood was from the mark from my own ex, and so we go right to last blood, and we started tracking it, and we tracked it. Like I said, we went about 300 or 400 yards originally. I'd say 400. We went pretty far. I'd say 400 yards at the first night. We pick it back up and we start tracking it. I'd say we go about 100 yards or so, and we find a decent pile of blood, like where the bear definitely bedded down and laid down and was bleeding out. So whenever we get there, we're like, well, this is good. And then it picks back up though. That was the spot where we seen a good bit of bubbles in the blood and everything, and that was the spot. So we see that blood, that bed of blood, and then it picks up and it takes off. Like you can see the splatters and everything. It looked like a high speed run, like maybe it had never stopped really. But so we tracked it. We end up going up the mountain, down the mountain, like over on the mountain, and we take it all the way down to this little brook. And we thought maybe, we were heading down the hill toward a brook, and we're like, well, maybe I made a back shot on it. Maybe it went to water or something. So anyways, we get to the bottom of the mountain, and we have decent blood, and then it starts to dry up a little bit. And we got to a spot where we had little bit of blood, and then we had no blood. And we couldn't find any blood for like 5 minutes. So we all started circling and everything. And then we picked up a spot of blood, and it was about 20 yards, 30 yards of this real thick. It was pines and grass and down pines and that. And we found like a couple little spots of blood. And then I'd say from where the thick pines and that was, it opened up, and it was maybe like 15 yards to the little brook. So we're all looking around and looking for blood. And Dave was like, hey guys, I think I found a bear. And I was like, oh, sweet. And I go over to it, and I'm like, oh man. So I think I sent you the picture, but it had gotten attacked by coyotes, by like a pack of coyotes. And the night before that, I asked the guy, I'm like, have you guys ever had like coyotes get on a bear or anything? He said, dude, never. I've never seen it, never heard of it, And I'm like, all right, that's cool. That made me feel better. So anyways, what we find it down in the creek bed. Dave St. Hilaire found it. He seen its intestine was pulled out. So the coyotes had eaten the back ham, the right back ham, the right back strap, like the meat there and the ribs. It didn't get up into the front shoulders, but it did a decent number on the bear. So what we originally and then after we gutted it out and everything, and we were dragging it out, we just the access road was I don't know, maybe 150 yards up. Like we could follow that little stream, and they called it a brook, a little tiny brook. We followed the creek bed up, and as we were following it up is where we really put the whole story together and made sense of it. What we realized was where we came down the mountain and we had blood, and then we lost blood, and we found a spot of blood, a spot of blood, and a spot of blood, and then we found it within 50 yards. That area there, we think that the bear actually went to the left and ran a big loop around and kind of went to that creek bed, getting chased by the dogs. What we think happened is where we found that bed of blood, we think that it was laying down there and dying. And I think that the coyotes got on it and kicked it up and started chasing it and chased it down there and the reason why we kind of figured all this out is I sent you a couple pictures it's the creek bed. You can see the one picture, some sticks in it, and there's blood on it. That's where, and there's coyote print and the bear print in the mud on on the mud in the picture, and you could see that's where the bear was coming down and jumped. It hit the creek bank and jumped, and on those sticks that are crossing the creek is where some of its blood is. So it obviously got chased across the creek, and whenever it did, it got attacked. It got taken down by the dogs about 30 yards down the creek where we found it. But we didn't realize all that at first, like I said, because we just got it out and we started dragging it, and we were pulling it up the creek, like on the side of the creek, not in the creek, but on the side of it. It was the easiest way out. And as we're walking up, I'm like I didn't find my arrow at first. It was like, it's weird, dude. We followed the blood trail where no arrow. I find my arrow about 45 yards up the creek, laying in the middle of the creek, broken in half. And so I find the arrow up there, and I'm like, dude. So we, we seen the blood, the tracks, and all that, and then we seen more blood up there. I'm like, dude, so the coyotes obviously were chasing it down, and like I said, made a loop around where they got it. But it was just weird the way we were dragging it out. We happened to come across the blood trail that we probably should have been following to find it in the first place. It's pretty wild. It was definitely the whole track. I did the track on ONX, and it was 0.9 of a mile. So whenever we found the bear, I'm like, dude, where did I hit it at? It wasn't in the vitals. And like I said, it was a 44-yard shot, and it was getting dark. Like, that's what I'm saying. Whenever I said I learned a lot this time, I learned a lot about judging bears. Like, I thought that my bear, whenever I shot it, I thought that it was a lot bigger bear. Like, I thought it was like a 175-pound bear. Like, I learned a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I kind of thought that my bear looked small. The guys up there were like, dude, this is an average bear. Like, you shot a bear that everybody around here loves to shoot. Like, this is an average bear. And I was like, that's cool. Like, I was happy with it. It's my first bear. I have no regrets. You know what I mean? Like, I'm completely 100% happy. If I go back next year, I'm not planning on tagging out the first day. I was only on a little 3-day hunt. So that's why I was like, if I get an opportunity on the first day, I'm taking it. I mean, I might not have seen no bears the second or third day, so, but on the drag out and everything, that's where I found my arrow. The whole story came full circle. So that was it. We tracked it 0.91 of a mile. I was like, never had a blood track that long. Oh, where I shot it. I was quartering away, and I hit it. And where I shot it, like, if you could think of a bear, I kind of hit it in its neck here, but it went in its neck up through its tongue and everything, and all these blood vessels, and it was sticking out its tear duct. Like, my broadhead was sticking out the corner of its tear duct. And like I said, I was using a mechanical. I kind of feel like if I was using my fixed blades that I have, I've been hunting with these ones this year, and so far this year, I've killed 2 deer in straight pass-throughs. I think that if I would have shot the bear with them, it may have blew right through them. But then again, I don't know. Who knows what would have happened? But this broadhead with the 2-inch cut on it, it put a nice big hole in his neck. And I don't think it was able to open its mouth. That's why it probably had a real hard time with the coyotes, too. It was probably only swatting at it. So I'm getting a Euro mount done. And whenever I get it back, I'll send you some pictures. But the broadhead is going to be left in the skull. So like, I have my arrow that's broken with like that much of it's sticking out up in its skull. It's going to be a really cool Euro. I mean, like I said, the shot was a marginal shot, and I'm not proud of that shot, but like, it worked, and I got a bear, so I can't really be too upset. Like, it would have died a lot sooner than what it did if it wouldn't have gotten chased by those bears. I think it was running on full adrenaline, just trying to live. You know what I mean? It was dying, and I was getting chased by predators. So, but yeah, I mean, that was my hunt. So that was Monday into Tuesday. And then Dave and Jay went out. Dave had a couple. He had a real big bear on his bait, and on the camera, Tanner showed us a couple of the trail camera pictures of the day. It was whenever Dave was in the blind, and there was like 5 minutes prior to legal shooting time. And Dave told us that he seen the bear, but the bear didn't come up all the way. Like, it came up, and all he could see was its head, at the top of its back, and maybe a little bit of its chest from what he could see, but it was kind of dark. And so it didn't take on it or anything. And then that was Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the bear came in, but it didn't come up to the bait. I think it had spent. And like I said, movement is key. Like Tanner specifically talked about movement and movement being key. Whenever that bear was in there whenever he was sitting there eating, he kept on looking up at my blind, but I wasn't moving. Like I had the bow. I originally had the bow. I have a Matthews, and it has these legs. I think they're called the engage limbs, and they go into the cam pockets, and it sits up perfect. Like it's great for in the blind. But I had it sitting on my lap because the bear came in, and whenever he came in, and whenever he went toward the bag, is whenever I grabbed my bow and moved it up to my lap. So I had it on my lap the whole time, but I didn't move at all. Like my foot was numb. Whenever I shot, my foot was numb. I remember I was like, dude, I need to move my leg. It's going numb. But I just didn't want to spook the bear. And he looked up at me a few times. And I remember whenever I drew back and decided that I was going to, this was the time that was probably leaving, and I drew back, the bear looked up at me. And then that was whenever it started to meander away. But it wasn't looking at me when I drew. Like, he may have caught that littlest bit of movement or something, even though it was dark in there. But movement, I heard, is key. So, yeah, I mean, I had a great time and everything. Jay's bear. Dave didn't get a bear. He seen that one the second night, and then the third night he seen it back in the woods, but never a shot. Didn't see it anymore. Jay didn't see a bear on his first night or two, the first 2 nights at the one tree stand bait site. So they moved him to another bait site. And it was the first night that he went to the new bait, he ended up shooting a big old bear. It was a 220-pound sow. It was huge. But like I said, that bear again gave him another quartering away shot. And from what the guide said might have happened is like whenever the bears walk, they kind of they move their butt and their bodies move in a line, like it kind of sways, you know. So Jay ended up taking a shot, and it was about I think a 32-yard shot or 33-yard shot, and he was another quartering away shot, and he ended up hitting it straight above its tail, like in the spine kind of, and it went over into the ham, and it cut the main artery. The bear ran about 45-50 yards and just died instantly, bled out and died. But he shot a big old bear. It was 220-pound sow. It was the biggest one of the trip. It was a nice bear. Another guy came with us named Scott Robinson, and he shot a bear. It was a boar. He was another guy. He was a guy on a 3-day hunt. He did a 3-day hunt with me. And it was last night. He ended up shooting a boar. It was a 190-pounder. It was a nice bear. He was rifle hunting. Took about I think it was, his blind was set up. It was a blind, and then it was like a creek, and then on the other side of the creek is where the bait was, and he shot across the creek. He actually made a really good shot on the bear. Was using a 30-06. Made a really good shot. Double lunged it, but that bear ran 250, almost 300 yards, double lunged. Like it didn't bleed very much at all either. They were just like following where it looked like it might have ran, and they'd find a speck of blood. I guess like what I learned is that bears are a lot different than what I ever just kind of imagined or have seen on TV at the hunts and that. I mean, maybe hunting over a barrel would be a little bit different, but just the whole tracking and everything like that. Like I thought that bear that got shot with the gun would have probably, died fairly quick and not went too far. And then Jay's one that got shot and just cut the main artery, it ended up going 50 yards. It was the complete opposite of what you think it might have been. I guess it's because he hit the artery, but the shot, you would have thought where the shot was, it would have been opposite. But bears are extremely tough. They're, I definitely I think underestimated how tough they really are. But then again, I guess any animal can be like that, because I've seen bucks. Well, I know of bucks that got good shots on them, and they'll run 150 yards just on that adrenaline and everything. Big mature bucks, you know. But yeah, so that was my hunt. The guide service was amazing. I would recommend him to anybody. I plan on probably going there next year again. He even hooked me up with some moose meat because I told him I never had moose and I really wanted to try it. So he brought me up a couple steaks to take home with me. It was pretty cool. It was really good. Bear meat, I think I like it. My fiance likes roast. She loves deer roast and that, but she don't so much care for the steaks. But I put a bear roast. I just had a smaller bear roast. I put it in with a deer roast on Sunday, and we like the bear roast a little bit better. It was just, I don't know, it got eaten first. Honestly, all of it was gone. There's a little piece of the deer roast left, but it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it or describe the taste of it. It's definitely a different texture though. It's a little bit greasier. Like, I guess you would say greasier. It's not like grease rolls out or there's a bunch of fat to it, but as it cools down, if you're eating it as it's cooled down, you can tell where I made some jerky out of it, and you can see the whiteness on the jerky with the fat like seeped out. So it's definitely got a fattier content to it. But I made jerky out of the ground that they gave me, and it was really good. Everybody loves it. So yeah, that was my hunt. I'm glad that I used, an expandable, a big cutting diameter, a 2-inch cut, because I kind of do think maybe if I would have used a smaller cutting head, it might not have got a real big opening. But that bear just gave us that whole, for the whole track draw, it was a continuous good blood trail. Like, we were all walking through the woods at a pretty steady pace until that final 50 yards. And I think what happened was we actually found blood from one of the coyotes, or maybe a coyote that stole some of the meat from the bear. I think that's maybe the blood trail that we actually followed to the bear. So it was a wild story. It was the longest track that the guide said he ever had. But he said it was a fun track, though, because he had blood the whole time. Like, it was definitely a good experience. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys letting me come on and tell about it. If there's anything that you need me to answer more or go into, let me know.
No, I mean, you did a pretty good job of covering all those questions I sent you. For anybody that was wondering, again, what was the name of that guide service? And it was in Maine, you said?
Yeah, it's Alder's Stream Guide, and the guide's name is Tanner Francis. I know he has an Instagram. It's under Tanner Francis, and then there might be one under Alder Stream Guide. He has a Facebook page too. So I know those are two ways that you can check out. He puts all kinds of pictures up and everything like that. It was actually a month before our bear hunt. He posted a picture on his trail cam. They call them koi wolves. They're all white. They say they're coyotes, but they're all white, and they're bigger than a coyote. They look like a wolf, but maybe a little bit smaller. They got a coyote face with like a wolf body, so they call them koi wolves. And they've come down from the border. I was only hunting 30 miles. We were 30 miles from the Canadian border whenever I went and tagged my bear. Yeah, so I was about probably 45 miles from the border hunting myself. And he also does moose hunts and fishing too, ice fishing. I don't know about probably during the spring maybe, but he does spring bear. He's the only, I don't know if he's the only guide. He's one of the only guides that does spring bear, because they get special tags for the reservation. The Indian tribe, they get special tags to do management hunts on all their land that they have. Like I said, I think they have 27 or over 30,000 acres. So they get, I think it's like 16 moose tags, and then they're allowed to sell so many or raffle so many of them off at a silent auction. If you're looking for a moose hunt, that's a really good way to get one. Get a hold of him, and you can go through the silent auction. He was telling me like an average tag goes for $5,500 to $6,500, which is a really good price for a moose tag. And then you would hire him as the guide service, which is, I don't know his prices. He'd have to say that, but that's not a bad price for somebody that's looking to go on a moose hunt. And his success rate is, I don't want to say it's 100%, but it actually, it might be. You'd have to look on his stuff for that. But like all the moose he gets a moose for every one of his guys that he's ever taken. He's gotten a moose during rut and everything. He got the land and got the skills. He's been doing it his whole life. He's just and he's really friendly, personable dude. Me and him got along great. Like I feel like I made a new friend up there. I definitely did. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Well, it's good having you on, David. It's cool to hear that bear story. I did see on that outfitters page, I think they said during bear season they might have had like 14 hunters and they had 100% shot opportunities, I believe.
Right.
And
Yep.
then maybe 11 guys took a bear or something like that of the 14.
Yeah, I think it was like 11 out of 13 or something like that. It was only
Yeah.
2 people that didn't take bears, and on the hunt before the week before ours, it was 4 out of 5 guys that took bears, and the 5th guy, he missed a bear the first night, or not the first night, but the first bear that he shot at, he missed it with a rifle, and then on the last night he passed a bear. So he had a 100% opportunity to take a bear. He didn't like the shot or something like that. You know what I mean? He didn't take the opportunity. So that's up to the individual hunter himself if he wants to take a shot or not. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that probably wouldn't have took the shot that I took, but like I said, I mean, I don't have any regrets about my decisions and what I did. Everything turned out well. So, but it was definitely a tricky shot. I learned a lot. I told him next year, whenever I come in, I'd like to either have a tree stand or a blind set up at like 25 yards or so. The whole prior, he's allowed to bait. I think it's a month prior to the season opener. So he asked for the deposit prior to that so that he can start running the baits and everything. And he'll set up, he'll set up your blind or your tree stand or whatever. He'll ask you if you're using a rifle or a gun, if you're left-handed, right-handed. That way, everything's nice and set up for you. You're not set up like where it's you got to turn backwards to make the shot or something. Just little stuff like that makes big differences in the hunt itself. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll definitely be bringing you on later for other experiences. For the guys that watch the channel, we're hoping to get some content from David about broadhead reviews, as he's kind of a broadhead geek of sorts.
Yeah, I got to put something together for you guys here. Honestly, this is new to me. I was a little bit nervous tonight. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So I hope it turns out all right.
Yeah, it's good, man. That's a good story. It's really cool. I appreciate you sending the pictures. We can follow along. And yeah, man, thanks. We'll bring you on another time.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thank you.
See you, David.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you guys.
See you later, David.
Yeah, for the rest of us here, yeah, thanks guys for coming on. You guys have any closing thoughts on this real quick? It's pretty cool to hear. One thought I have is just the connection with the Bowhunter Box Club tribe. I got to know Ben through the tribe. I got to know David through the tribe. You just heard him talk about the guys that he's hunting with that he met through the tribe. Jake's part of the tribe, but obviously I've known him a little bit longer.
Well, and that's just kind of the brotherhood of what we do, you have that commonality of the hunting and the outdoors, and everybody draws you. Like his experiences out there are totally different than ours, but it's still hunting, and it's the nuts and bolts of it's all the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ben, you're going on a bear hunt in November?
Yeah, I'm taking 2 veterans from Veterans Creed Outdoors, taking them out to North Carolina for a bear hunt.
Awesome.
So that's gonna be a heck of a good trip. One of the guys is gonna be shooting traditional, so that's gonna be pretty cool.
Hopefully, we're bringing you video content on our channel from that.
Yeah, look forward to that. Hopefully, I mean, even if we don't get anything, it's still gonna be a successful hunt. But hopefully, we're bringing some bear meat home.
I've heard the steaks are pretty good. It sounded like David
I've
really
had
enjoyed them too.
I've had bear summer sausage and I loved it. That's all I've had for bear before. There's only one other time I've even been close to a bear here in Iowa, but that's for another story.
Cool. Well, that'll probably do it for this week. We'll come up with a topic for next week. Try to do about the same time, 8 o'clock Sunday night, as long as it looks like it'll work for everybody. We'll try to update people during the week. And yeah, thanks guys for jumping on here.
Yeah, hopefully I got some hunting stories for you next weekend.
Yeah.
My season opens Thursday, so I'm itching to get out there.
I think I'm going to hunt Sunday afternoon, so I'm sure I'll be back by 8, but pretty close.
Yeah. Hang on in line here a second, guys. Just a second. But